All right. Bear with me while I figure out some of these technical difficulties, folks. Thanks. I am Marvin Forte, KFNW Director. This is your second episode of the KFNW Current. I appreciate all of you showing up here tonight to find out what's happening with KFNW for 2025 and for 2026. I've got some guests waiting in the green room here. But before I let one of them in and we start talking to them, let's talk about in the news. In the kayak fishing news, at least KFNW news, I got some great news yesterday from ODFW. All of our Oregon permits have been approved with no changes. I don't want to jinx it, but this is the first year that I've ever applied for all these permits in all three states, and every single one of them has been approved with no changes. That's the first time that's ever happened. Idaho does a really good job now of doing a meeting where all that gets hashed out, so we really don't run into conflicts there much anymore, although there was a boat tournament that had asked about sharing a date with us there, but he kind of never got back to us, so I'm assuming he decided to do something different. But otherwise, I think we're golden for the schedule as it was posted, which is pretty exciting. All right, with that's really the only big news I have on the schedule. I'm still working on sponsorship. We've got some new sponsors that we're working on. The only one that I can announce now is that Native Watercraft will be back for the 2026 season. They'll be a tour sponsor for us, and they are donating a Titan X 12.5 again. So we'll be giving away one Titan X 12.5. I think we'll do that basically the same thing that we did for 2025, but we have a little different schedule. So maybe we'll do 3 events. If you complete 3 events, you'll be in the drawing. You'll get 1 ticket. If you complete 4 events, you'll get 2 tickets. If you complete 5 events, you'll get 4 tickets. And that'll allow us to do the drawing at Tour Event 5 up in Coeur d'Alene. So we'll do the drawing there. That's the same thing we did this year. We did the drawing over at CJ Strike. And Chris Glover was the lucky winner of that. Okay, let's see. Oh. Brennan Waugh says howdy. Sorry, bear with me here. I'm a little slow on the draw with some of this. I'm not quite up to speed on this software just yet. All right, let's get started. I think I have to actually turn those off, I guess, huh? Yeah, okay. So let's bring in Dan Walker. Dan, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll bring you in.
I should be unmuted. How's that?
There you are. I can hear you just fine.
Great. How's it going, Marvin?
It's going good. You're the first guest on the KFNW Current.
All right.
Appreciate you.
The very first?
The very
Ever?
first guest. Yeah, because this is the only second one, and I didn't bring any guests in last time. It was too much just doing it by myself, let alone trying to bring guests in live. I was probably stupid to invite 5 people to join me tonight live. I'm just a glutton for punishment, but we'll give it a shot. So I brought you on really to talk about the Classic. Dan was our 2025 KFNW Kayak Bass Classic champion. Congratulations on that. It was at Potholes Reservoir back in October, and it was a stormy couple of days, windy couple of days. I wanted to have you on because we only had about a little over 20 anglers there, so they got to hear you talk about it. But I wanted to give
Yeah.
everybody a shot to hear you talk about that event and what brought you to that event. Um,
Oh yeah.
what your season was like to get you there, and then talk to us a little bit about the classic itself.
Oh yeah, sure. So I really feel like with the new format that it is much more competitive now. So you can't, when there were 5 tournaments in each state, you had a pretty good chance of making that top three and possibly winning one, especially if you traveled.
Right.
But it is way more competitive. And I qualified twice by chance. The first one was at the Umatilla on the Columbia, and I was 10th, which was the bottom. And I was like, woohoo, I did it. First tournament, I did it. I just squeaked in, and that just made that's was my main goal was to get in that top
Whew.
10%
Yeah.
in one tournament, and here I was in the very first one coming in 10th, which was a challenging tournament too. It was very windy and stormy, and although the tournament day wasn't too bad until obviously the end, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. The
so
morning
that
was
day,
great.
yeah, the morning was great. The I would say that that pool on the Columbia for me is like one of my favorite places to fish in this whole area. It is just awesome. I mean, I think that's the one I've had the most luck on tournament wise and just fishing wise. I've first fished it when I was still paddling a kayak 10 years ago, in May. And I had like my first, like, I was just sort of new to bass fishing back then. It was probably 15 years ago. And I, you know, caught fish all day long. No giants, but it was just, 40 fish days for a 3-day weekend. It was incredible. So in that one, I fished in a spot that I've never really fished in, which the Duggars fish. And that's where he caught his 23-incher, which is right at the mouth of the slough. There's a road bed to the right just north of Preston, and they were spawning still. And I just went back and forth on that all day and was catching them. So, and they were pretty consistent. I would have done much better. I lost a ton of fish that day. So I probably lost, that was a native too. I probably lost like 70 inches of fish. So they were just jumping off. So, but whatever. It was great. I loved it. I caught a ton of fish that day, and it was just fun fishing. And, and then, my season was pretty up and down, I would say. And then I got to the Willamette, and I got fourth on that, which also put me into the classic. And that one was, that's a tricky tournament too. But I caught a 20-incher
Yeah.
first fish, and it was like the skinniest 20-incher. It didn't even like touch the sides of the board. It was like the perfect kayak fish. It was just literally like 20 inches long, but it all fit inside the yellow board, the catch board. So overall, I felt like I had a really good season. It was fun. I really liked the new format where we all get together. Some of them, are a little less populated than they could be because it's a long ways for some people to drive, right? But I tried to
Sure.
I made it to all but the Idaho ones, and I'll try to do an Idaho one this year. So it was just timing.
Yeah.
I had a really good job in the beginning of the summer, and but then the classic, uh, potholes. I go to potholes every year, multiple times throughout the season.
I know
So
it's
I
like
feel like
one of your home spots. You fish there a
it
lot.
is. It's sort of a. I feel like I know the lake. I know how to catch smallmouth. I know how to catch largemouth. I fish every fall. I try to go in October because, like, the Duggars fished it the weekend before, and that was kind of what I was expecting. It was just like you can't keep the fish off. I mean, they're just everywhere, and it was a little slower for that weekend, but it was still good fishing. It was rough conditions, obviously high winds. So the first day, well, first the very last day of practice. Um, and when I was coming back to the boat launch, I went over this point that stretches out into the lake that I've never fished before, and it has 3 big boulders on it. I've never seen those, and that I could side scan fish on the boulders, and 2 casts, 2 fish. One was 18 inches. I'm like, I'm not going to fish here. I'm just going to cruise back and come back. And so for the first day I started out there, it was like a 10-minute paddle from the park launch, and it's this point. It's in sort of a nondescript part of the lake between the two launches, between like the uh, the resort and the park, and the one that's in between. And it was just full of big fish, and but it was a small spot. So I would go there in the morning, start out there, fish it for like an hour and a half, and then it would die, and I just left it for the day, and was kind of worried that someone else was going to find it. But I was fishing a jig, and that's one lake that is like the lake that have absolute confidence on the jig. You know, it's like jig isn't my best bait in Western Washington, but that lake in particular, they just love the jig there, and it's a football jig, brown and purple, PB and J, nothing fancy. And so I would go there, I'd hit it, and I'd catch. I didn't even catch a limit off that spot at one go, but I caught 18 inchers, good fish. And so I'd go and I go fish the dunes or go fish around somewhere else during the day and come back for the last like 2 hours and fish those three rocks and around those three rocks. And they were big. They were like 6 or 7 feet tall. And I don't know what they were, but they weren't man made. And they had a bunch of bait fish. I caught like a 13-inch bluegill on it.
I remember seeing that.
It was massive. And they were just, you could see them cruising around the bottom. I have live scope. Live scope really isn't a huge thing in that lake because it's so full of carp that you can't really like jig and minnow fishing very easily in that time of the year because there's like
Sure.
100 million carp in that lake, and you can kind of tell what carp are, but it kind of obscures everything else. But it does help you get on the spot, right? And I also caught them. I caught them on jig. I caught them on drop shot. Those are the two main things. So I was fishing like a big drop shot worm, like 6-inch, it's an 8-inch drop shot worm, kind of a bigger rig, and that's what I would go back and do that. Then I'd go out to the dune faces mostly and fish the faces of those. I picked up a couple nice fish out there, but mostly those were smaller fish, like 15 or 16 inches, and still all in the jig. Nothing on a chatterbait, which is usually really hot this time of year there.
Sure.
But and then that's what I did the second day. And the second day on my very first cast, I caught a 20-incher. So, and it was on a bigger jig. I decided after the first day I brought two jig rods. One was a big jig and one was just a finesse jig. In that first cast on the big jig, I was like thunk, and I knew I had a big one. So it was great.
I think that was your biggest fish on the board all year, was it not?
Biggest largemouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I remember going through the citations.
Yeah. No, that was I didn't catch a lot of big fish this year. My season log was like under 200 inches. It was just like I caught a lot of 19-inch bass this year, but not that many over 20. So it just happens sometimes. I mean, I'm not complaining.
No.
I love catching 19-inch bass all day long.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I sort of know that lake. I feel like I've been there like every single season all summer. I go in the summer, I go in the fall, I go in the spring, right when it opens up. So, fish is different every time. It'll be a blast in April when we have our tournament there. It's going to fish completely different. It's going to be, when we were there, the dunes were out of the water, sand banks, no brush. And when we go there, there'll be like 2 feet of the willow sticking out of the top of the water. And the water will go all the way back. You'll be able to go all the way back.
Yeah, all the way up into the dunes. Yeah, it's completely different and way more launches. You guys could we only had 3 launches for the class.
Yeah,
and those 3 launches are like 100 yards apart. So it might as well have been one launch,
I know. It was pretty much the same launch. And, but the second day, one thing I did is since I don't have a motor, I actually didn't go out. I stayed on the leeward side of I stayed out of the wind because I didn't want to tire myself out. And I didn't go out into the rough water. I stayed kind of to the edge of where the wind waves were picking up.
Yeah.
So,
Smart man.
That, I didn't find it made any difference on the amount of fish I caught. I had a bunch of marks. There's a few good spots along the base of the dunes that I really know, and I usually caught it like those filler fish there, those like 16, 17 inchers. So
Very cool.
it's such a great lake. It's amazing.
Well,
It's
congrats on a killer season. And it's cool. You ended it winning on potholes, and you're going to go roll into 2026, and it'll be our first event. So, and that'll be the native
Yep.
event as well. So that'll be a lot
Yeah,
of
that'll be
fun.
fun.
Did you
It
do
can, it
the?
can,
Did you do potholes when we did the native event before?
I did.
Yeah,
I got
I thought
seventh
so.
on that
You
one,
got
and
one
I
of the
had
big bass, right? Yeah,
I did,
yeah. Very
and
nice.
it was the smallest big bass, which is generally my trend. So
Hey, whatever it takes. All right, man.
yeah,
Well, if you want to hang out, you can. I might bring you guys back in when we talk about 2026 schedule, but if you can't, no big
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Um,
I'll hang on.
I'll send you back into
Good talking to
the
you, Marvin.
green room. Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
And let's see if I can figure out how to get Dan out of here. Now it's just me again. All right, next up, let's bring in our 2025 Angler of the Year. Mr. Brandon Hua. Frozen. Your video's not working there, Brandon. Can you hear me? We may have to get Brandon back. That's not a very flattering still of him. Brandon, I'm going to suggest maybe you disconnect and reconnect. Yeah, he already did. There he comes. How's that? Oh, much better. You're live.
Working?
I don't know if you could see that, but you were just sort of like this.
Well, on my end, everything's fine. I got the light.
Yeah, it just froze
Like,
up. I don't know.
I'm just staring at the ground, apparently.
Very nice. Well, welcome. Glad to have you on board.
Thanks for having me. Excited for this.
Yeah, yeah. Especially as we get things rolling a little more and we go through the season, I think it'll be fun to do these throughout the season and have people on after events, right after, while it's still fresh in your mind. We're talking about all last season now, so it's the distant past.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when I was bringing you in, I don't know if you heard it, but I brought you in today because you are our 2025 Angler of the Year. Congrats on that. Well done.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the 2025 season for you and how it went, how it felt. I know it wasn't easy. It was you kind of struggled a little bit at times, and you weren't positive how it was going to turn out. But I don't know. I was a little more confident about it looking at the numbers. I was like, you're in better shape than you think you are.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of it's a blur. I think and I think some people know, this was my last year of school, so
Yeah.
I was doing that full time, and that was most of my mind was on that. But I don't know. I mean, looking into the schedule before the season started, I looked at it and I was like, okay, I got some experience in some of these places, but some places I didn't. So it was kind of like a 50-50 thing. Most of the places I actually didn't fish those times of years that we had the schedule. So I mean, I knew the place, but obviously water levels change throughout the year depending on the season and all that.
Sure.
For me, I think it was just trying to find a different bite than everybody else. Obviously, we had a lot bigger numbers this year, which I kind of like because that means less people are able to find, a certain area to themselves. I think we heard it kind of all year long that people, were like, oh, yeah, I pulled up to the spot and, this person was there, these people were there, we're kind of just going around each other. So I tried to find a different bite the whole year. Just trying to find something different, whether I had to go 5-6 miles from the boat launch or just finding just something a little sneaky, a little bit different. But when we started
With more
season,
anglers, that was a big change. We had more anglers at almost every event we did this year were a new record for this year because of the regional schedule instead of the the three more local tours.
Yeah.
And Dan sort of hinted in his that it was a whole lot more competitive. It was not. It was, before. I wouldn't say it's certainly not easy to win, but it was easier than it is
Hmm.
now. Now you've got a lot of hammers. The word hammer keeps popping up, and I happen to have gotten my new hammer recently.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's it's a different ball game, right?
You're not ever. It's like when it was separated by each state, it was like everybody was technically fishing in their backyard because everybody was around those bodies of water. Now you're going to other people's backyards and all that. And, I think that brings a little bit of pressure into it as well for the locals, you know. So, yeah, it's a different ball game. And obviously, um, yeah, just you never had an area to yourself most of the time throughout the year. I tried a lot of times to fish community areas, in these certain bodies of water, and I was like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to split this up with everybody else. So I tried to find
Yeah,
something different.
yeah, yeah. It really affected our scheduling when we were working on the schedule this year. There just aren't all that many bodies of water we can do anymore. Not like we used to. When
Hmm.
you figure you're going to have at least 50 people at every event. I think our smallest was CJ Strike, and it was still 40 something, which is was a record for an Idaho event. We've never had an Idaho event with that many people, but I think we can do better, and I think we will do better this year with the
Yeah,
two that we've got in Idaho.
most definitely. Yeah, so starting beginning of season at 10 Mile, I mean, that was a place that I'm pretty familiar with. Fished there a bunch in the past. My bite was a little bit different from everybody else. I found a bunch of fish spawning, but a little bit deeper, anywhere from 3 to 4 feet. Obviously, when it came to the tournament, we had overcast and we had heavy wind that showed up later in the day. But um, during practice, I was able to catch 90 inches pretty easily. So that was my plan going into it. I knew that I had to maximize on the morning. Anybody who watched my video, I kind of pulled into a cove, and there was sick bait around, caught a limit pretty quick, got lucky with one 18, I think 18 and a half or something like that. And I just ran a bunch of beds and tried to pick off, some big ones here and there. There's a lot of fish that I left on the table at that event, but you
Yeah,
can only do what you can with the
yeah,
conditions. The
absolutely.
conditions were terrible. So, I mean, 10 Mile, I felt good going in that one. During practice, yeah, I mean, 90 inches wasn't too bad. I actually fished South Lake that event. I went to North Lake on Friday and just kind of messing around, seeing what was up there, and still caught 90 inches up there. So I knew it was going to take a lot. And, when it comes to bed fishing, you just don't know if they're going to eat or not. So,
No, and that
um,
lake especially, they move around, and what's working in one area from one day may not on another
yeah,
day. Like I don't
I think,
think there were many people up in North Lake on tournament day.
mhm.
It just wasn't working for that many. There were a few up there, but not. It was busier on the South Lake for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, 10 Mile is notorious for just being a shallow fishing lake. So I knew
Yeah,
that just going down the bank, throwing a chatterbait, throwing a snake bait, throwing a jig, Texas rig, everybody was going to do it, and those fish were going to get pressured. So I did what I thought I was going to do, and made a little bit longer run than everybody else to get a little bit less pressure. But I knew that the bedfish, most people weren't targeting those, especially because you really had to be on top of them in order to see them if you were pre-fishing. It was pretty hard to find those bigger ones. They were a little bit deeper. Water typically is pretty stained that time of the year. It was actually a lot
sure.
clearer than I thought, but
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I knew I had, I don't know, 25, 30 beds marked that had 18 plus inches. So I knew that, I had a plan A, plan B, plan C. And I think this season was a lot of that because you don't know if someone's going to find the same area as you. So it's a little bit different from back when we were in 3 different states. I had to
Yeah,
have made sure that there was several options just in case there were people around. But let's turn to Umatilla. I fished Umatilla a whole bunch, but never that time of the year. Actually, I think it maybe like 7, 8 years ago, but totally different. So I kind of first, I think it was the first day of practice and the last day of practice. The first day of practice, I ran all my usual spots, community areas, and stuff like that. And I was able to catch fish, but I didn't catch anything over 16 inches. So on Friday, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday, the last day of practice, I went to a different launch. Again, went super far from everybody, and I found this little spot, and I think I caught two 19s and then a 17 and like an 18 just running down a stretch of bank. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I got to go. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what else was there. And so tournament day ran down there. Yeah, and then some magic happened, and I pretty much caught everything off one spot. Just fish were outside of a spawning area. Fish were spawned out already, moved their way out, and they're just kind of staging on this area right outside of Current, just waiting for bait fish to come by. And there was a lot more big fish there, but I think once that sun came up, those fish kind of vanished a little bit, and it was just kind of a timing deal. I'd leave and come back and pick one off, and then leave and come back. But that was a fun event. Um, I think top three was probably the biggest bags we've seen in a while as far as the top three goes, right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little later when Chris Williams is on. But yeah, that was our biggest numbers of the year for sure.
Hmm. And then Door Shack. Door Shack, a lot of things happened at Door Shack. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple areas that I caught fish on. Most of my fish were schooling for the most part, just chasing kokanee out. Most of my key fish came on a spook over like 40 to 60 feet of water. It was kind of just you got to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
They would start busting, you'd throw a spook or there was 6-inch swim bait out there, and you'd get one to go, and you just kind of wait till the next one came up. That one never fished there that time of year. That was totally different. It was fun. I think
They were
it was interesting.
concentrated. They were really
Hmm.
concentrated there, and if you weren't just like you're saying, if you weren't where the fish were, it was just Dink City. It was
Hmm.
sub 12 fish. Like you couldn't
Yeah,
even get them on the board. They were 9 to 11 inches. A lot of 10, 11 inches.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That tournament, myself and a couple other guys actually found the same spot. I think it was Thursday of practice. No, it was Wednesday of practice. I went out there and threw a spook, and I caught like a 20 and a half. And then I threw a glide bait and I caught a 19. And then I threw a different swim bait and caught like a no, 18 and 3/4. And I
Wow.
was like, and there were several fish in that 20-inch range falling all of those back to the kayak. So I was like, this is what I'm doing. But I also had a couple other spots, and that's why it's so important to have plan A, B, and C, because when everybody's trying to crowd around that spot,
That's it.
you got to go to your other stuff. So
Yeah.
I was fortunate to have other options that was able to allow me to make it out that tournament with a solid finish.
Well done.
And what we had Lake Whatcom, never been there. I mean,
Yeah, and that was the
even some
one
of the
you and I
others.
were both coming from ICAST. So I left a
Hmm.
little earlier than you. I left the day before, and it was still a challenge because I had to get up there. But you drove up there the night before the event. Drove up
Yep.
and just fished, right?
Never been there before. Never even seen the lake. I was lost getting there in the morning. Flew back from ICAST. I got in at like 9 p.m. Got the airport's about 15 minutes from my house. Got back and got to shower and get myself kind of woken up a little bit and hit the road, drove through the whole night, pulled in the parking lot. Everybody was already there, and just went out, and I did some research on my mapping and Google Earth. That's I like to use like Navionics or CMap, contour mapping. I was like,
Yeah.
well, there's two big points in this place. I was like, I don't see any other points. Everything else is a bowl. I was like, I'm just gonna go here and see what happens, and um, was able to get four early. I wouldn't say early; it took most of the day, but then pulled on the way back to the launch, stopped on an area and caught my 19 3/4 with what, like 8 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and salvaged it. And that was a tough bite. That was a cool place. I would love to go back in the spring because everybody talks
Yeah.
about all the docks, and you can just flip a drop shot or a stick bait underneath and catch a whole bunch of big ones.
We'll be back for sure. I caught on my second cast, I caught a 19 and a half. and that was the only fish I caught shallow all day.
Yeah, yeah. And then Willamette, that one, yeah,
You
that
had a
one
tough
didn't go
time with
well.
the
But
Willamette. It
but
was,
the first four is what was important.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Willamette had four fish, I think, in that, and but I was lucky enough to have just solid finishes the first four to get it done. Didn't win an event this year, just consistent through towards the top, and
I gotta say,
literally,
I'm kind of glad that that happened to you. No offense. I'd love for you to win an event, but it really helps underline exactly what you said. That I preach it all the time, but I'm not sure people get it. Is AOI is not about winning. It is really about consistency. If
hmm
you're not consistent, like you can win two events and lose AOI easy.
hmm
If that's all you've got, you can win three events and you still won't win AOI. So
yeah,
it's being near the podium, in or near the podium, at most of the events. This year you had to really be in five of them, and 2026 it'll be four, and we're adjusting the AOI a little since there's five tour events instead of six.
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, just fishing all the way to the end, and I think I've been doing tournaments long enough to know that conditions do change during tournaments, and you need to know when to just scratch everything and go do something else.
Start over.
Try a
Yeah,
new spot. Let the fish tell you if they're willing to cooperate that day or not. So there's a lot of things to consider.
it's hard, man, because like you also don't want to make the mistake of you've had some bites somewhere. You don't want to leave fish to go find fish, right? That's the quote
hmm
everybody says. So I feel like I'm caught between those two things. Like I don't want to leave fish to find fish, but I also got to know when it's time to move. And it's hard. It proves how much of a mental game tournament fishing is. It
hmm
really is
There's
more about what's going on up here than
Yeah, there's just so many variables. Like, if you fish a spot during practice, is it the time of the day? Was there wind? Like, was it a certain wind direction that, got those fish to eat? Those are all things to consider. And during tournament day, they may not be, the same conditions. So there's too many
absolutely
factors. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, super fortunate for the season. Honestly, I wasn't sure how it was going to look. Based off of us going to three different states, and I've told you this for a long time. I always enjoyed going to other states, other people's backyards, because just fishing in Oregon, you fish those places enough, like what else is there to learn? I mean, obviously there's a little
absolutely
bit, but like we got to see a bunch of different places that were not all the same. They were set up differently, and that's what makes you a better angler. Like,
100%.
when I went to Whatcom, I obviously I didn't see it, but I saw it when I got on the water. I was like, okay, this kind of sets up like here, or this kind of sets up like there. Okay, well, this was what worked for me before. Maybe let's see if that works here. Um, and I think that's a part of it, is just trying to fish so many different bodies of water that you can kind of find those similarities in between them.
I heard Jeff Little say a few years ago he doesn't fish tournaments much, but he was fishing in a tournament, and he said, I don't know this body of water, so I'm just looking for things that are familiar to me, things
hmm
that I know from the places I fish should hold fish, and I think that's great advice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then wrap the year up with the classic going into it. I was really hungry for that win. And after day one, I already knew. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm leading this thing, but it's a day two. I have a very hungry Dan Walker who's slightly behind me. And of course, he whacked him on day two.
He sure
But
did.
Paul's is one of my favorite places. I used to fish there a whole bunch, but never that time of year in August. So I fished completely different. I tried to find something different. I knew the wind was coming, and I still decided to go fish out in the middle of the lake with 20 to 30 mile per hour winds. Um, Basically, one spot mostly got it done. I had a couple other spots that I tried to get to, and I just had waves crashing over the bow.
Mm,
Uh, I told you I filled up my kayak. I had to get the bilge pump out to get the water out. I tried to stay out there, but and those conditions are brutal. I've been out there 7 years ago. It was a Berkeley Big Bass tournament with bass boats. And it's funny, Matt Walker was fishing with me. He was my co. I borrowed my buddy's bass boat, and it was blowing so hard there was literally 4 and 5 foot rollers rolling by the dam. And I think this was May,
wow.
and
Wow.
Matt's never seen big waves like that on the lake before, and he's like, "Are we on the Columbia or what?" I was like, "Dude, it could be like this out there." So I knew what was possible out there, but luckily, I didn't see that big of waves.
Man.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you joining me tonight and sharing some of your story about the season. If you want to stick around, you're welcome to. Like I said to Dan, I'm going to kind of go over the schedule a little bit. So yeah, if you can hang out, great. If you can't, no big deal.
Yeah, I'll stick around. I wonder if can you put multiple of us in here?
I
We
can.
can just
I can, and we will when we look at the schedule.
cool.
In fact, you know what? I'll do that this time. I'm going to leave you here because next up, I'm going to bring in Andrew Janke, who is our Rookie of the Year. So we'll have Angler of the Year and Rookie of the Year here together. Let's add Andrew. And let's unmute him. I think we're both hitting mute at the same time.
Yeah, we were.
Hey, Andrew, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Marvin.
Thanks. I keep putting you guys together because you're AOI and ROI. I was taking pictures of you together and everything. I forgot to mention with your AOI, Brandon, and it's perfect with this segue with Andrew coming in. We were supposed to have gift certificates for AOI and ROI this year, but because of circumstances with Next Adventure, with what was going on, our gift codes weren't going to be any good. Or I guess they are good technically right now. Next Adventure is open, but they're not selling water sports stuff at the moment. So we converted it to products. So Brandon won a Bonafide. Which model was it? The
RS
117. Yeah. Yeah. So he won that Bonafide kayak, and Andrew was our ROI. So Andrew, you won a Kokatat dry suit, right? And Andrew sent me a picture a couple weeks ago. Hey, I'm in my new dry suit out here on the water.
Yeah, I am very, very thankful to get that thing. Like I was saying to you earlier in this, I'm getting ready to head to Lake Shasta here in a couple of days, and
You
the
need
guys
it there.
down there saying, of course, the Pacific Northwestern is going to bring weather down to us, and I'm like, well, you'll probably get wet. I said, thanks to my kayak fishing Northwest and a little luck on my side, I'm going to stay totally dry.
That's great. That's great. That's the first place I used my my dry suit when I moved. I lived in Arizona and then moved up here in 2017. I didn't need one in Arizona, obviously, even in fishing in the dead of winter. But when I moved up here, first thing I did was bought a dry suit, and my first tournament was Shasta back in
There you
2018. So yeah, I used it's good. You definitely need it there in the colder
Yeah.
part of the year. So Andrew, talk to us a little bit about your season and how you think you achieved this mighty ROI status.
Well, I was not counting on it. I was
You weren't planning on it?
no. I was really just kind of planning on just getting through using Tourney X and put a few fish in the boat. I really got into this thing from he's like my other son, Will Harris. He really how it started is he was fishing the championship 2 years ago on the Willamette. He was on the Willamette.
Yeah,
And his
I remember
dad,
that one.
his dad Leo couldn't go, and so his other option was his mother. And then and Will's looking at me, and I'm like, "All right, man, I've never even been in a kayak. We have a canoe." But I said, I'll go with you. And I threw a couple rods in, and I'm dressed up like this thing, like I'm getting back in my bass boat. So I'm just like totally just covered in clothing, and um, Will wanted to go to some spot, and so here I'm behind him, the old guy following him. Right. By the time we got there, I start peeling these clothes off, and Will looks back at me. He says, "You look like you're on fire with all the steam pouring off you." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the day. I'm just going to be drifting around you." It was really fun. But anyway, he got me going on it, and um, he kept telling me to that I should go out, and then my son Drew um, said you should try doing this too, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I bought a. I didn't know anything about kayak. I borrowed Leo's
Right, for
10.
that event.
Yeah, and then I went one other time with it, and um, I probably should have bought one of those, but I was like thinking, I still have bass boats in my head, so I
Yeah,
I fell into this Blue Sky 360, and that thing's
sure,
a
sure.
barge.
It
The
is.
but I could stand up in it,
It's a
stretch my back
dock.
out.
I mean, it's a floating dock. Yeah.
It is. It's great in rough water too.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I started out the season. My son Drew and I went and fished a boat tournament in March on 10 Mile, and I didn't even get a bite that whole tournament. It was early in the year. My son caught 5 fish. We threw one back because it was March. It was just barely 12. And anyway, we got a check in that one, and so I'm like, okay, 10 Mile already is not starting very well for me. So the first one for our kayak tournament, I've been fishing that lake for years, and I was on bedfish, and I was seeing them, like Brandon brought up. I mean, that wind and the weather came in. I was kind of had my fish mark. I just couldn't get bit. It was just one of those tournaments. I just couldn't catch them. I caught 5 keepers, which is great. That's the idea. But that was a very tough one for me, and I'm like, okay, this. I never have any preconceived notions when it comes to fishing, but I was like, you know what, this kayak fishing is 100% different than boat stuff. Because I mean, in my boat, I have stuff buried. I got stuff for every season, and this kayak thing, you better bring a bag, man. You can't take all that stuff.
Yeah. You gotta pack lighter for sure.
You do. It's totally
Even on the
different.
blue
So
sky.
yeah, especially that, yeah. And I mean, any of these boat guys thinking they're going to come out of fishing boats and jump in a kayak and whoop on these guys. They got something coming. You're going to have to really roll your sleeves up. I mean, they're good
Not gonna have
fishermen.
the patience.
Well,
They're not
that's
gonna have the patience.
that's the other reason I was happy to have you two guys on together, because you two are my textbook story on this, where you both were boat tournament anglers. You both were experienced with boat tournaments, and so it's really interesting to me to hear from folks like you who have made the switch. And I've talked to both of you about it extensively, about what you like about it, and if you want to share a little of that with the crowd, I'm sure they'd love to hear it.
Well, the thing is, I like about kayak fishing is I think, and maybe I'm totally wrong, and maybe there'll be people in the comments correcting me, which is fine. But I think kayak fishing is more sustainable. I have an expensive bass boat in my garage, but I have the reason why I do is because I happen to have won it. I would not have it if I didn't win it. But kayaks are expensive to this day, but they're a heck of a lot cheaper than bass boats, and they can get you out on the water. And that is the most important thing, especially to me, is just getting out and fishing. And
100%.
I just think I just personally like it a lot better. I am going to fish some boat tournaments this year. Fish a couple with my
That's great.
son, but there's a lot more positives to me in kayak fishing. What was one of the other big draws, and this is aside from Will keep telling me I should give it a try, step up and try it, was I really like the conservation side of it. I've hauled
Yeah.
fish in a live well around from in Tri Cities. I've seen multiple fish floating down the river, getting dumped in the summertime. Fish on Lake Mead, that hot, that desert hot lake, we're just killing them. Even when you're doing ice and all that stuff, the way we're doing it, measuring them, getting your best photo, really taking the time. And there's a trick to it all, and you guys all know it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I had a heck of a learning curve with that.
That is the
didn't I?
learning curve for boaters. It absolutely. I mean, you guys have both heard me say in a boat tournament, if you catch a fish, get it in the boat. Guaranteed that's going to make it into your bag unless you kill it. Unless for some reason you kill that fish. Or you make a mistake and throw it overboard or some boneheaded thing like that. But man, you catch a fish in a kayak tournament, you're halfway there. now you got to get a good photo and you got to get it uploaded.
Well, the other thing is, though, I mean, and you remember this. You've had to correct me a few times on how to get it properly measured.
The best photo you can. Yeah. Yeah, we coach people on that. It's not simple.
It wasn't
No,
easy
it's
for me
not.
at the beginning. My first official tournament at Lake Wooloola, I had a fish, and that was an event I got second place. I learned my lesson from that day. Now I don't care if the fish is 12 inches. I don't care if it may or may not cold fish. I will always put my net to the side because I had like a 17-inch smallie that jumped off the side, and that costed me winning that tournament. So I mean, it's all that stuff. It's funny we talk about measuring. That was it. Bass Angler Magazine, the Super 60, the BAM tour. Ken Ma, shout out to him. He always mentions to me, he's like, I do not know how you guys measure fish. He's like, I have the full size of my boat measuring the fish, and it just goes everywhere. It's like I can't get it to stay put, and it's
Practice,
funny.
practice,
I'm like, think
practice is the
about
answer.
you have this much room, right next to you, and that's all. If a fish jumps out, it's gone. Like, at least your fish can stay in the boat. And like ours, most of the time they won't. Yeah, I
Totally.
mean, I think coming from the bass boat side, I mean, sustainability is a big part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I had my bass boat for 2 years, and I could not fish as much as I wanted to because if I were to go make a trip out to the Columbia, it's $300 in gas. Like, and even just going out to Hag Lake, it's just now it's just charge the batteries up, head to the lake, and all I'm paying for is just to fuel my truck. So, I mean, that's a big part of it. For me, the transition was easy because I was a co-angler for so many years. So I'm so used to having a tackle bag, 5 or 6 rods. That's what I brought in. So that going to a kayak, as far as like how much stuff to bring, that was really easy for me. And I started my roots came from fishing out of a john boat, 14-foot john boat, built a deck on it. So I'm used to kind of a smaller watercraft, which you really look at it, XTR 130 is about the same size as my John boat
It's
was.
true. It's true.
So that was super easy for me. The transition in that was, I mean, it was fine. And like, yeah, and I mean, with that boat, like for the longest time, I only had a trolling motor. So speed and running, 30 miles this way was not an issue. I'm the type of person, even to this day, where once I get home, I usually I build boxes depending on the lake I go to. I never brought 3 boxes of crankbaits, 4 boxes of jigs. I built boxes for those trips.
Right.
That's just kind of like my organization. So even in my bass boat, I'd have 3 boxes, and that was it. Like maybe. I
That's
never
great.
kept everything in
That's
there.
great.
Like you could
I wish
see
I was that
all my
disciplined.
tackle behind me. Like I put everything back. I have extra 3700s, double deeps, and I build them out depending where I'm going. So
That's smart. That's some great advice for everybody listening to put in the time up front to prepare.
um,
What I find too is sometimes if you have too much stuff in the back there, it's overwhelming. You don't even think of throwing certain things that you have that probably would have worked for you.
yeah, I
Well,
mean, when
this
I
is
build
a
out those boxes, it's like I build my game plan before I go to the lake too. So it's like, it's not like I'm just showing up like, well, whatever happens, I'm sure I got whatever's going to work in my boat or my kayak. I'm like, okay, this is depending on this time of the year. Oh, it rained, 3 days ago. Water might be dirty, maybe some darker colors, all that stuff. I take all that into consideration.
Andrew, tell us a
Yes, sir.
little bit more about your ROI, and there's another award I got to mention as well. But let's talk a little. What are some of the highlights of your season that you feel like got you that ROI title?
Well, like I said, I started out at 10 Mile with kind of a bust, but man, I had a lot of fun. Traveling with Leo Harris, Will's dad, and it was we turned into a camping trip and that sort of thing. It was fun. Um, like Brandon said earlier, it was kind of a blur, but Door Shack, that was the one I was trying to kind of hang my hat on because we have property 45 minutes from there. So it's like I wouldn't call myself a local, but it's like every time I go visit my father, I'm like dragging a kayak or a bass boat with me. So it's like, I do know this one. That one also I fell on my. I'm bringing up the negatives first because I like to kind of get them out of the way. So that one is kind of
Leave
a
them on a
bust.
high note.
Yeah, yeah. They I didn't find the fish like the other guys that did well in that thing. The ones I found were on little finger points and they were big ones and they were all on the scope. They were on the bottom. I'd have to throw an A rig or something to get them to move or a crankbait. And then what I'd do, I'd just soak a jig on it. And then eventually one would finally swim back around to the little point and eat it. And it was just like, I ended up with 4 fish. And I couldn't believe it. I was
Yeah.
like, well, this is fishing. I've been here before. I know what failure is all about. So moving from that, that's when I guess I kind of started turning the gas on.
Yes,
You
that's when you
see,
took off right there.
yeah, I really did. What was the next one? The
Whatcom was the next one, and then
Whatcom. Yeah, I got a check in that one. That was a
yeah,
lot of fun. That was definitely a scope tournament for me. So I was chasing those little smallies around. And yeah, no, that was a great. I've never been to that lake either, and that was another part of this venue that I really like. Is I really like that. For years, I traveled to tournaments where the same old tournaments, um, Delta, Shasta, Meade, Lake
right.
Roosevelt in Arizona, just Columbia River, all the same places. That was another drawing factor for people wanting to get into kayak. Is you actually go to other places that are really cool. Anyway,
Same thing
so
Brandon said.
um,
Yeah, and it's,
yeah,
I mean, it's designed that way. A lot of the local boat tournaments, I look at their schedule every year, and it's just the same schedule every year. They don't even change the order. Like it's just boom, boom,
no,
boom. It's within a few days of when it was the previous year, and I don't know that bores me. I don't want to do the same thing like that every year. I want to mix it up and try new bodies of water and learn. And yeah,
well, that like this boat trail, the BAM. They have a Northwest division. It's lined up on places I just like dream all year long to go again. For years and years, I've been going there with my fishing partner, and it's like, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm staying with the kayak. I have more fun with it. He was shaking his head. He's like, man, you're crazy. I'm like, man, this is kayak. Kayak, man. You're gonna have more fun. Anyway. So let me see. Watcom was a lot of fun. It was kind of challenging. We were fishing real close to one another, and some people kind of have a problem with that. I don't mind at all. I like fishing in California, Arizona stuff. I'm so used to fishing around so many people. It didn't bother me at all. But some people are a little touchy to that, so I learned that. Um, um, let's see. The next one was the native tournament on the river, and I got one of the power hours. That was a lot of fun. It was a big old largemouth. I punched it out of some tulies, some lay down tulies, and that was a lot of fun. That fish bailed me out of that
yeah,
tournament. So
yeah.
I got a nice check on that, and that qualified me for what, Marvin? Was it for the? It qualified me to go to
For
the
the classic,
classic.
that was when you made the classic. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun on
And
that
then
one,
those
and
last
then
two events is where you really just killed it. You crushed it. The Willamette and CJ.
Yeah,
the
CJ
Willamette.
was a win, and again, I had never been to CJ Strike, and that was one of the funner trips. I was out there camping in the campground right by the bridge, just right
Yeah,
down the road from the bridge. And I guess that's a really interesting place for people that want to go. They have a big telescope there, and people come from everywhere to go camp there. It was a lot of fun. I didn't do the telescope thing because I was too busy trying not to get beat up on by these guys. So but I caught my fish on a jerk bait, and the reason why I went to Division 110 is probably not the best warm water jerk bait is because there's so much vegetation going through there.
there
I
was a
when
lot
I
there.
Oh yeah, it's blowing through there.
Yeah,
I'm able to keep by jerking hard on that thing. I'm able to clean the jerk bait out pretty much every time I do it.
got it.
And the smallies were just they just weren't having. They were just all over that thing. And the other bait that really worked well for me, it was just basically um, the two baits I threw was a Rio Rico,
Yeah.
and I switch
The
up
li-
between those two.
the little one, you
So
were throwing the little one?
no, the big one because the
The
big
the
one will
Rico,
walk.
the regular Rico. Yeah. Yeah, that yeah, I lived in Arizona, so that's they're based there, so it's a very popular bait down there. And I used to fish it a lot, and I still throw it here. And we had another angler win a tournament throwing a Rico a few years ago.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that was a win, and then so I guess step back to the Willamette River. I got second place in that tournament or third
I
place.
think that's
And
right.
was it third place or something? I can't
Also
remember.
caught a donkey.
Patrick Kelly won it, and yeah, you were second or third. I can't remember now, but yeah, you caught a huge smallmouth.
Well, and that fish came. It came on a River 2C glide bait, and the River 2C glide bait is actually not my favorite glide bait. But again, I didn't have a lot of. That's the one I just happened to have in my box. So
Right.
that morning, I just went down ways from the bridge, and I just started throwing that on that flat, and it really was just a lucky bite. It had to be because I wouldn't have thought in a million years I'd catch a 22 incher on the Willamette River, but I did. So
Well, it won you that, and that was our biggest smallmouth of the year. So you were our citation smallmouth champion as well. And for that,
yeah,
you got what did you get? You and Chris got almost the same thing.
well,
You
I got that really cool life jacket that I want. I've been
That's
wanting
right,
that.
the Astral Sturgeon life jacket. It's cool because it's got one big pocket in the middle. Uh oh, Andrew froze. There you're back now.
Yeah, that thing's money. I mean, I could put my cell phone in the cell. I mean,
Right in the front.
it's
Yeah.
totally well. Yeah, and
It's
then the
cool.
other
I
thing
have
with
one of
that,
those too. I
you do.
mostly use the Fisher jacket of theirs, which is a little more conventional. It's got, but I'm gonna fish that sturgeon a little more in 2026 and see how I like it. And then you got a
Well,
Viscarbon Pro, like a Yak Attack Viscarbon Pro. Is that what your other prize was? The pole,
it was
the light pole.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's really nice to have for a backup
it
because you
is.
never know.
It's great.
You know.
It's great to have for if you've got a wired solution. It's good to have as a backup for sure.
Definitely. Let me see. So that
And
kind of
can save
wraps
your
it
life. So just like
Yeah.
well, it's funny. Everything you won could save your life. The life
Well,
jacket, the dry suit, and the flag and light. So
That's like the best rookie
safety
package
first.
ever.
That is a great rookie package right there.
Well, I'm glad Brandon took that kayak because I mean, like you just said, all three of those things really was what I needed. I didn't even know it. So,
That's great.
You did want to take that kayak home anyways. Marvin saw the way I had it in the back of my truck heading back.
It was a little sketchy.
I was just like, oh yeah, I gotta take that home.
oh really?
Just shoved it in the back of my truck. Canopies wide open. I got my trailer and my kayak behind me. Raining the whole way back. You and I were heading back at the same time. And we're going down whatever mountain it was, dropping um, right into 84.
Yeah, I think I
Absolutely.
remember that. It was like not. It was raining and pitch black or something, wasn't it?
We would be
It's-
hauling butt, and then this wall would hit us, and we start slowing down, and yeah, that was a rough ride back.
It
A little
was.
bit better than a classic last year at Door Shack. That one was a rough drive back for me.
the one other tournament I do want to bring up that you know the win was fun because anytime you win a tournament, I don't care what tournament it is, club little 10-person tournament, it's all good. Was Clear Lake, the West Coast
West
Championship.
Coast Championship. Yeah.
I was the first person in a check, and I was. Nobody wants to hear about the fish you lost because that doesn't matter. But I mean, I had a couple opportunities that I was like, "What?" This nice lady came by after I lost one of them, and she just wanted to talk about. She had a kayak too, and I was like, I had to tell myself, pull it together. I mean, I was all ticked off that kept losing fish, and it's like so I stopped and talked to her for a while. That actually kind of got my head back into it. I was like, you know what, it's all part of it. But yeah, that was a fun tournament.
That's
So
it's
I
great.
like
I
Clear
love going down there. The fish are unlike largemouth I've caught anywhere else. They've got the attitude of a smallmouth. They're
Lake. Yeah, they
mean
do.
and they'll bite you. Every one of them will flop off the board. They're just big fish. Usually big largemouth. You put them on the board and they're just like, ah, they just lay there.
Yeah, not
Not
Catch
those
a
fish.
15 down there, and it fights like a
yeah.
1920, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah, exactly. You hook it and you're fine. I'm like, oh, this is a good fish. You get in and it's like a 15. You're like, what? I thought it was.
well,
I
and
thought
most
a
of
lot
them are
bigger.
like blimps
They
too,
are.
even
They're
for that
fat.
time in the year.
There's so much forage in that lake. That is what makes that lake so special. Is from the bottom of the food chain all the way up. There's just lots of food. Door Shack. You mentioned Door Shack, both of you, and that was something I noticed judging the fish at Door Shack was interesting because you look at all these. Our minimum's 12, so we're looking at all these fish that are 12 to 15, and they're scrawny little bass. I mean, they're just long, skinny little 13 inchers, right? And then those fish get to be about 15 or so, and all of a sudden now they can eat the kokanee. And they completely change. They completely metamorphosize into a bigger fish with that big hump on their back, and they get sort of silvery colored, and it's crazy what a good diet will do for those fish. Those kokanee are full of fat and protein for them.
Yeah, it's crazy to
Well,
see the frame differences between those at Door Shack and like a 19-incher from the Columbia versus Door Shack look totally
Very
different.
different fish.
You look at the ones in Door Shack, you're like, that fish just looks pissed off all the time. Like, I don't know, that's the way I see those fish.
Yeah,
Door Shack.
100%. Oh, we got shots fired from
Shack.
Michael Jarvis, Brandon. Sorry. Speaking of Door Shack.
That place is a special place. It can here December you can catch some big fish. A couple like 5 years ago, I took my mother out on Door Shack. It was almost the 1st of December, and you just would not believe how good the fishing is. The water temp was, I don't know, it was like mid 40s, and I mean it was cold. My bass boat was frozen to the trailer. I kept asking my mother, it's like, hey, did I get all the straps and everything? She said, yeah, I watched you do it twice. You went around. I'm like, well, it's frozen to the trailer going over the hill. It's a very, very unique place, very special place.
That's awesome. Well, let me get Chris in here. He's our last single talker. And then if you guys can hang out, I'd love to bring everybody back in and talk a little bit about the 2026 schedule. Let's just talk to Chris about his award and quickly, and then we'll get everything going. Thanks again, guys. Let's see. And here comes Chris Williams. Chris, can we hear you?
Hey.
Yeah, you're there. Hey, welcome.
You.
Thanks for hanging out for the long chat
Happy
here.
to be
Sorry.
here.
It's a lot to get this many people in, but I want to get everybody who won something special in 2025. So Chris won the longest limit of the year at Lake Umatilla. I was just pulling it up. 97 inches. That's what did it for you. 97 inches. That was our biggest limit of the year. And that was, you were all smallmouth. 20 and 3/4, 20, 19 and 3/4, 18 and 1/4, 18 and 1/4. That's a heck of a bag.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised with that myself. So
Well,
I
tell
looked
us
down
about
on
that
it.
day if you remember that far back.
That day I won't forget. It was a beautiful morning. We were all out super early before sunrise, so we got to fish with that sunrise. So it was gorgeous. I had pre-fishing. I found this little island tucked behind the big main island that was basically right in the middle of a channel. So it was getting fed fresh water, hitting this little island, and there was a lot of big fish on it. I found it on, I think, Wednesday. I was talking to, I think, Jonathan Bush, and I was cruising by it just to look. I didn't even want to fish it. I just looked by and I saw 20, and I was like, "Ooh!" And I saw another 20. I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "John, I think I found a spot." So I
Nice.
fished it, caught a couple fish there. I was like, "All right, that's an option." And then, like, I've caught fish everywhere I went, 18s, 19s, different parts of the river. And the funny thing is, I wasn't going to fish that spot because I had another spot that I wanted to go hit. I ended up not doing it only for the reason of the wind. The wind was going to kick up too early at that part of the river. And I talked to some fishermen, and there was going to be a lot of good sticks going to that spot. So I was like, with the wind and then the pressure,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to chance it.
Find
hit this
something else.
spot. And,
That's the same thing
yeah.
Brandon said about 10 Mile. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, that was going to be my plan B spot. I was going to go fish in the morning down river, beat the wind, and go hit that spot again. I was going to hit two spots, but I decided against it. Just went to that one spot, fished around that little island, and did really well. I was fishing a Ned because I knew there was a bunch of beds around there, but obviously couldn't see them at 4 in the morning. So I was just dragging a Ned around the area until I found my fish. And I looked over to the right, and there's somebody off to my right was just wearing them out on topwater every cast. And I was like, "Hey, are you in the no limit?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Damn, that's too bad," because it was every cast for him. So I was like, you know what? Let me throw my spook. Why not? I think third cast I hit a 20, and then a few casts after that I hit that 20 and a half, and I was just like, uh-oh. So I just basically did loops around this island, and I told myself I'll stop going around the island when I stop catching fish, and they just kept coming. And I didn't think there was that many fish there, to be honest with you. I didn't even think I was going to contend for anything in the no limit. I just knew there was some decent bass. I could get a decent bag out of it, but I didn't expect to do as well as I did in the no limit, as well as win that event. So
That's
it was
great.
pretty insane, to say the least. So
That's
and all
awesome.
of it was on one bait. I just caught them all on that spook.
Well, just like the other guys, we did have a gift card for you, but because of what was going on with Next Adventure, you ended up winning a Bending Branches paddle, that alder wood paddle that they make, which is beautiful, cool looking paddle.
Yeah, it is really nice.
So congrats on that.
Thank you.
I think what I'd like to do now, if we can, is switch over and let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see if this works. Wish me luck. Boom. All right. You guys can all unmute yourself if you're not already. And feel free to chime in here. Should have little... Oh, and yeah, there's Chris's limit right there. I still have it on my screen there. You can see. And there's that 20 and 3/4 that he caught, which was, I think that was your biggest fish of the year, was it not, Chris?
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of 20s this year. I think I got maybe 5 20s. That was about it. So, but I'll take whatever I get.
Hey, a 20 is nothing to sneeze at.
I'll take them.
All right, so let me, let's see, I gotta change the size of this screen a little bit here to make room. There we go. All right, well, let's do the drawing real quick while I've got all you guys. Maybe one of you will win it. Brandon already won, so.
Starting off the season right.
So we're gonna pick 2 names. This is for everybody. Everybody on here either signed up in November or in October. So if you signed up in October or November, you should be in this list.
See, my name's still on there.
But it is. I didn't bother taking them out, just so to rub it in case you win twice, but you won't be able to win twice.
You're gonna pay me my membership, right? If I get picked again.
No.
Oh man.
Speaking of the prizes that you guys all won for what you did this year, I tried to get him on the podcast tonight to talk about them coming back as a sponsor for this year. Diamond Parking and Diamond Self Storage, Jim Carey. He couldn't join the podcast because he's on a cruise.
Boo-hoo.
And the Wi-Fi isn't strong enough. So he'll be on a later episode, but this year, all of those prizes, the longest limit, the Citation Largemouth, the Citation Smallmouth, the 2 biggest, ROI and AOI, will all pay cash, and that has been sponsored by Diamond Parking and Diamond Self Storage. Let's hear it for Diamond. Woo!
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to pick 2 names, and somebody is going to get their membership fee that they already paid back. First one is Anthony Booth, a former AOI, ROI winner himself.
Nice.
Congrats, Anthony.
Nice.
Awesome.
Take him off the list. One more spin. Ooh, look at that. Corey Carlisle.
Oh, he doesn't need that.
Mr. Spokane.
Come on.
He won a kayak. Come on.
Again.
All right, so that's it. Those are the 2 that are going to win for this drawing. I'll have one more drawing. The next time I do the podcast will be in January. And we'll do one more name at that time for everybody who has signed up so far and everybody who signs up between now and then. So if you haven't signed up, make sure you sign up. Let's see. In fact, somebody here, Michael Jarvis said, thanks, Diamond. I agree. And Jay Latimer said, where do I go re-up my membership fee for the 2026 season? So it's on Tourney X this year. Tourney X was kind enough to add club membership to the app. And that makes things easier for us because I don't have to check to make sure that people have signed up for a membership when they're fishing one of our tour events. You can't sign up for a tour event if you don't have that membership. So you'll find it on Tourney X. You can also get to it from our website, which I still got open here.
So
go to membership.
I know it's a little. I give a couple tries, but click the red button. That might be what he's
Right
looking
there.
for.
Oh, you mean once you get there?
Yeah.
Once you
Yeah,
get
I think
to
it's a
the club
red button's
page, you
the-
mean?
the,
Yeah.
uh,
If I click on that, let's see, I'll show you. Here's that club page. I'm already signed up, so you won't see it, but there's a button on this that'll say register on this page. And you can see everybody who's signed up here. And these people are sorted in the order that they signed up. So I was the first member of the year for 2026, and Riley Treptow is the most recent one. So there they all are. All right, well, great. Congrats and thanks on that. Let's now take a look at the schedule. You guys heard me say at the beginning, they've all been approved. Everything on here, as it is written, has been approved. So I'm jazzed about that. There's one exception, I think, but I'm not going to have any problem with that one, I'm sure. I'll point it out as we get down there. So tour event 1, like we said, we're going back to potholes. That will be a classic qualifier. It will not be a West Coast Championship qualifier. Potholes is going to fish amazingly well in April, I believe. End of April.
That's gonna
Should
be
be
a
great.
really
Weather
fun
should
event.
be really good by then. March can be sketchy. April is pretty solid.
It's the end of April too, and that's usually when things really start to turn on there. So, like crazy turn on. So, it is my experience. That's when a lot of the I've gone over there a lot for that weekend because that's when all the smaller lakes open up around there, and it's the first weekend, and boy, it can be just a riot. So,
Yeah, it should be great. There's Chris Glover. He was supposed to join us tonight. Chris was our citation winner for largemouth. He won a record-setting largemouth with us this year. Chris, you should have gotten an email from me with the link to get in here. If you want to sign in now, I can add you down here to the bottom, and we'll let you talk. But if you can find that email that I sent to you, there's a link in there. But yeah, that was a ridiculous, amazing largemouth that Chris caught. Let's go take a look at it, just because we can. And then we'll come back to the schedule. Maybe he'll join us too. So everything's a little different now here. Navigating, I'm still not used to it yet, but it's a whole lot easier to get to everything. Citations are up on the website, by the way. If you scroll down here, you'll see them. There's that largemouth, 23.5-inch largemouth that Chris caught. And there's that 22-inch Willamette smallmouth that Andrew Janke caught. Pretty amazing, huh?
Some beasts.
But yeah,
beasts.
lots of great fish in here. Go take a look. You can see all your... this will only show you your largest smallmouth and or largemouth of the year. If you caught multiple citations, we're only showing your best one. But some real giants down here, even all the way to the bottom. Pretty cool. All right, back to the schedule. Tour event 2, 10 Mile Lakes, going back to 10 Mile a month later. It was pretty damn good in April. It should be even better in May. That is a classic qualifier and a West Coast Championship qualifier. What more can we say about 10 Mile? It has the reputation of being the best water body for bass in Oregon that we have, and one of the best in all 3 of our states. So if you didn't make the trip down last year, find a way to get down there this year.
I'm looking for redemption this year.
There you go. Tour event 3, we're going to Lake Cascade in Idaho. We've had some really good tournaments on Cascade, and it's a big lake. It can handle a lot of anglers. It's a bit of just a big bowl, that lake is, but it's got a lot of fish in it, and it should fish well. It's a little north of the Boise area. It's still a close drive for the Boise folks, and a little closer for some of our other folks. Tour event 4, Banks Lake. I personally haven't fished Banks Lake, but I know a couple of you guys have, and I've heard a lot of buzz about Banks. People are really excited about that one.
I've never
It's a
fished
pretty
it,
diverse
but
lake. It's got a lot of stuff going on there. So,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful place. It's absolutely stunning place to fish. So it's just crazy in the coulee, lots of rock, and it's a pretty interesting place to fish. Both smallmouth and largemouth, they fish
Got a little bit of
completely
everything.
differently. Yeah,
That's cool.
Rock, grass, roads, bluffs.
Yeah, road.
Everything.
yeah.
Submerged
Bluffs.
roads
It's
from the dam.
really
Yeah,
diverse. It can be pretty windy, but there's always a place you can get out of the wind there. So
that's cool.
I've always wanted to fish that place, so I'm excited.
Yeah, should be a great event. So that one will be a classic qualifier and a West Coast Championship qualifier as well. just like Cascade. So those are our 3 West Coast Championship qualifiers. You can qualify for the West Coast Championship by finishing in the top 25% of any one of these 3 events. Or if you complete all 3, meaning you fish the whole thing and you show up at the awards, then you automatically will qualify for the West Coast Championship as well. Classic, we'll be doing 10% again on that, I believe. I don't see any reason to change that. The top 10% for every event, all 5 tour events of the year, will get you into the Classic. And then we'll probably do the top 10% of AOI again, which worked out really well. We had about 3 people who made it because of that. They didn't make the top 10%, but they were close enough and consistent enough that they did well in AOI, so they got in. I know Jim Carey was one, Lacey Duggar was one. There were a few that made it in that way, and so I think we'll do that again this year as well. That was a good change.
I like that addition.
Yeah, we didn't really know at the beginning of the season when we decided to change the way we were going to do our qualifications. We didn't know how many were going to qualify, and it turned out it was just a few less than the way we used to do it. And so that got it up to be about the same number that we usually have. We usually get anywhere from 25 to 30 that qualify. Oh, here comes Chris. Let me get him in the group here. Hello there, Chris. You are muted at the moment. You might need to unmute yourself, Chris. I can't see if I can. Let's see if I can add him in. I don't know if we'll be able to hear him unless he can get himself unmuted, but you'll see him at least. There he is. There he is. And now we can hear you. You there, Chris?
Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about being late. I did not see the email.
No worries,
And then
no
I
worries.
looked through my email and it wasn't there. And then I searched your name and then it was there. And
Aha.
I saw it. I gotta learn how to use email.
That's great. Let me brighten you up a little bit there. Maybe we can see just a little better. That's good. So tell us about that 23 and a half before we keep going. You caught that?
Yeah, so that was at Sawyer Lake.
Okay. Oh, you didn't have to say. Sorry, I started to say that was in the season long, but
You want to drop the waypoint as well?
No.
I don't mind blowing up spots.
All
There's
good.
big fish everywhere. But it was my first time at that lake and was fishing the PNW Bass Candy Bass Squatch,
Nice.
6-inch swim bait, just in some tall grass, like 8 feet deep. Yeah, that was the first fish I saw that day. I caught him, and then I spent like 2 hours calling people on the phone.
That's great.
But yeah, I immediately he really took it. I jacked him, and then when I saw him flash, I knew it was the longest fish I'd ever caught.
It was kind of a long, skinny fish.
I was thinking like he's got to be at least 21, and then I put him on the board, and I was like, oh my god, because I've never seen a 23.5-inch fish.
Yeah.
But fishing the PNW Bass Candy Bass Watch, 6-inch swim bait.
Somebody needs to turn their sound down on the computer.
Uh-oh.
There you go. That's the delay that we get. Yeah, that was such an amazing fish. The best largemouth we've seen. I think the previous record was 23 1/4, so you just barely beat it. But
Just
we'll
barely.
We'll see if somebody can beat it. And that actually, Our biggest smallmouth is a 23 and a half also record.
No way.
Yeah.
Was that one of the Duggars at
No.
Umatilla?
No, Josh's was a 23. Rick Thanstrom from Idaho caught a 23 and a half
Okay.
smallmouth. And I don't think we're giving anything away knowing that it's Rick, and you can just look at the fish and know where it was caught. But it's another one of those door shack fish we were talking about with the big hump.
Yeah. There's big fish everywhere, man.
Indeed.
I think that was the cool part about 50-50 this year was just people were fishing all 3 states, and I think the top 10 was a good mix of everybody.
It really
overall.
was. I was excited about that too. We never got the big numbers in the regional 50-50 until this year when that was the only online that we had. And so we really had a mix of anglers from all 3 states. And I mean, every state competed. Every state was right there. You look at the top anglers in the 50-50. In fact, I can pull it up here if you want. We can take a quick look at it. But where is it? There it is. Corey won it, of course. But yeah, you've got 2 guys from Washington, Idaho, Pat Moore from Washington, Michael Jarvis, who's here with us commenting, was our top Oregon angler in the 50-50. Josh Howard, Brandon back to Oregon. I mean, it's just back and forth. Pretty amazing. It's kind of surprising how competitive all 3 states were.
Yeah, it seems like Washington's dominated a little bit on that.
A little.
Not this year.
But that's sheer numbers. That's really a
Right.
numbers thing. There's more Washington anglers than all 3 of our
true.
states.
Yep.
Oregon's a little behind Washington, and Idaho we've got a smaller number of anglers for sure. So it's hard to compete just in sheer numbers.
But the numbers were crazy this year too. The totals.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
those
Yeah.
upper totals were just. It's the biggest ever, probably, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that Corey's score there is we can't see it because I'm on a small screen, but I can only show 7 of them.
it's like,
I'm not gonna lie. Once Corey started blasting them, I
216.
kind of tapped out.
Yeah, that's
gotta
the
start
only bad
getting
thing
injured.
is part of me feels like I should just hide it all season long, not even let people know what they put up there.
oh, don't do that.
No,
That'd be fun though.
but it
I
makes it
probably
fun
won't.
because, like, when you're separated by 1/4 inches or something, it's like you can see,
Yeah.
like, oh, I need to go to here and see if I can get one of those, and I think that makes it fun. Like, it's competitive, but it's all fun at the end of the game. Like,
Yeah,
end of the
yeah.
day.
I hear you. Okay, well that takes us to Lake Coeur d'Alene, which is our 5th tour event of the year. We had
We
an
need more people
open.
for that lake.
We had an. What's that?
We need more people for that lake. That's a big lake.
Well,
It's a big
we're all-
lake. It's a
we're all
big lake,
fishing
and
for-
and we'll be fishing probably most of the lake.
Who are the locals for that lake? Because they're going to be the ones to chase. Because the locals on that lake.
Garrett
they
Harrison
all-
lives right there.
Garrett,
we're
yeah.
all fishing for
Garrett's
stuff.
Garrett's a favorite. Corey's
Those
in
guys are the ones
Spokane,
to chase.
so he's 30 minutes away from that lake. It's
Yeah.
might as well call it his home lake too.
Yep, I'm following.
There's a bunch of guys
following
up there.
Corey's
Ryan Flory
Subaru.
is up there. Mathea is up there. Yeah, there's a bunch of great anglers up there.
Putting an air tag in Corey's kayak.
Derek Trott. We've got quite a few Coeur d'Alene area anglers, Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, and then Jim Carey's in Spokane. There's quite a few guys and gals over in Spokane as well.
I'm excited for the one. I've never been there, so I'm going to get lost in some. I don't even know. I assume there's some random back roads. I've never seen the place, so
We had an open there in September, very close to this date, and I think Corey won it. And yeah, there were some serious numbers, especially for September. September's not always the greatest, depending on exactly how weather has been, what the conditions are. But yeah, there were some big numbers put up. So that's one thing that helped us say, okay, well, let's do it in September. We kind of were juggling where to put it. We definitely wanted to get Coeur d'Alene in there this year, but we weren't sure where to put it. And that sort of sealed the deal when I saw how well the Open did in September. And then last, but certainly not least, is the Kayak Bass Classic on the Columbia River in a section of river that we have not fished since 2018, when it was just OKBF. IKBF didn't even exist yet. WKBF was a separate entity, or WAKBF in those days. And so we fished it back there in 2018. It was supposed to be a KBF qualifier, but we didn't get the numbers to do the KBF qualifier, so it ended up just being an OKBF event, and it did well. That was my first time fishing it, and I was just a competitor then. It was that's back when Aaron was running OKBF, so I was just competing on it. I came in second, caught a 19 or something like that. Which, blew my mind. That was, at the time, that might have been my largest smallmouth, or second largest smallmouth. It's going to be interesting. The Bonneville Pool is what we're talking about. So it's basically be from Bridge of the Gods, which is near Cascade Locks, all the way up to the Dalles. So it'll probably be those two bridges will probably be the boundaries. The bridge that goes across at the Dalles and the Bridge of the Gods will probably be our boundaries. And there's a lot of big fish in that water in various sections. It's basically all smallmouth. I don't remember seeing any largemouth submitted from that section, but there's some big smallmouth.
I think out of all the tournaments I've ever fished out of there, I've only seen 2 largemouth. And that's over like 9 years fishing on that pool.
Yeah.
And they're not big.
Right. It's not primo.
It's not like Umatilla, not like
No.
Wallula. It's just you can just look at the landscape and they're completely different.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a few somewhere.
Yeah, I mean they're in the river, so they can get there if they want to. They just don't want to most of the time, I think, is what it comes down to. So that's going to be another where there are some community holes. There are some places that are popular that people like to go. I wouldn't bet all my chips on being able to fish your favorite spots there. There's going to be a lot of anglers. I mean, it's the classic, so we won't have 100 anglers like we do at some of the other events, but we'll have 25 or so. So. It's a big section of water, though. There's plenty of room for 25
a lot of
anglers.
launches.
Yeah, a ton of launches.
And just a long stretch in general.
All right, let's go down here and talk about a few other things. So what we did this year, a little bit different. We've got our spring open that we usually do. Here are those. I think you guys can see this if I highlight it like that. So what we're trying to do is get those 4 corners of our tri-state area, northwest, southwest, southeast, northwest. And so we've got Anderson Lake, which it's one of the chain lakes that's a part of the Coeur d'Alene system. It's connected to Lake Coeur d'Alene. We did the open there last year, and there were some giants, a bunch of giant fish caught in that, both largemouth and smallmouth. It's almost the same date. We did it 5/10 in 2025. It's 5/9 for 2026. So Anderson should be great. Brownlee is always good, and that time of year it should be great. Only problem with Brownlee is service is pretty lousy, so we've got to sort that out. Garrett Harrison's going to help me out with the Anderson Lake event. Greg Marshall with the Brownlee event. OKBF, we're going back to Dorena Lake, which fished killer in May, on May 10th in 2025. We had a bunch of big largemouth caught and some pretty big smallmouth as well. And then WKBF West will be Alder Lake, which we've done a few tournaments there. That should be a good time of year for it, 5/9. It's sort of
Should be. Yeah,
Mountain
it's definitely
runoff.
not a great lake in March, but in May it should be spawns should be going.
Yeah, we did one there really early. I don't think it was March, but it was like early April or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
April.
It's
It was
not a good
tough.
time to go
It
there.
was
It's on
tough,
the
yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
Because that's like snow melt. You know, it's that aquamarine blue green water from the snow melt. Yeah. All right. And so what we did this year, you guys heard me talk about this before, but it's cool with all of you here to talk about it a little bit. Instead of doing a tour event in August, because August is just kind of the worst month to try and do a tour event, we're going to do a summer open. So we got a spring open and a summer open. And so again, what this does, it does a couple of things. It gives us a place to fish in August, you're not traveling and spending a bunch of money. If you plan to go and fish the West Coast Championship down here, then it's not two big trips in the same month, which a lot of us can't do. It's challenging. This way, you can still do the West Coast Championship and you can do your local open, because your local open, most of us are within a couple of hours of one of these four lakes, within 2 or 3 hours of it. So we're going to Newman Lake, which we fished before. It's too small for us to really do for a tour event anymore, but it's perfect for one of these opens. We're going back to Hagerman on the Snake River for Idaho. We're going back to Crane Prairie Reservoir for Oregon, which we haven't fished in a few years. Again, because we've kind of outgrown it. We can't really do it. But for this open, it'll be perfect. And then for the first time in the western part of the state, Lake Sammamish in Washington, which I know some of you guys fish, and I've heard a lot of good buzz about that. People are excited about that for one of the opens.
That's a great lake. So it's definitely up there. So for the Western Washington crowd.
That's great. So again, we've got kind of those four corners. Newman's close to Spokane, so that gets the Coeur d'Alene people. Boise, Oregon, the people up here in Portland, Salem, Albany got a little bit of a drive to get down to the Bend area, but it's not that bad. And it's pretty close for those folks that are in Southern Oregon, and unfortunately they've got to drive a lot to get to a lot of these other events. And since we're doing Crane Prairie on 8/8, we also brought back the Flying Kayak Open on 8/9. So the Sunday after, it's only about 15 minutes away from Crane Prairie, so you just stay an extra day and fish the Flying Kayak Open. All fly fishing, all barbless. It's got largemouth in it, and it's got trout in it. And that's really all that's in that lake. It's one of the weirdest lakes you've ever seen in your life. The lake was formed from a lava flow, from a volcanic eruption, and the lava flow went right across a creek and created a dam out of lava. And so there's this shallow lake there. Most of it is about 4 to 8 feet deep. And it's clear, super clear water. There's one area that it gets down around 20, 25 feet. So it's shallow water. It's perfect for fly fishing for that reason. Lots of reeds. It's fun to fish. The last time we did it there on Davis, we had quite a few anglers. We had, I think, about 25 or 30 fly anglers. And it was cool. We put up some good numbers. Actually, the day before the event, pre-fishing, or 2 days before the event, pre-fishing was even better. I landed a 18 or a 19, I think. But yeah, I'm excited about that one, and I know some of the folks who fished that before are really excited to see that one come back, and they'll make the trip down there. I'm looking for sponsors for that one, especially fly fishing specific sponsors, people who would be interested in that event. So if you know anybody, send them my way. Then we've got the West Coast Championship on 8/21/22. We already talked about that. and then those last two that we've got. That's it. That is the entire season. So, you guys, tell me, how many of you are fishing all 5 events?
All
I'm
5.
gonna try.
I'm in.
Dan?
Gonna give it a shot.
The Cascade Lake, I'm starting a new job in January, so I'm not committing
congrats.
to anything.
Okay.
Thanks, yeah. But I will definitely hit everything but the Cascade, but I'll try to make it to that. So I'm
Okay.
definitely going to Coeur d'Alene. I've always wanted to fish there. So
Well, that's great. That means everybody else here is going to try. Dan may not be able to, but everybody else is. Michael Jarvis asks if jigs are considered flies. If they're on a fly rod and they don't weigh 3/8 of an ounce, then yes.
You need a 12-weight
Scoping
rod
head.
for one of those.
that's pretty
things.
much a jig, a fly jig, right?
I mean, there's plenty of flies that are basically a jig. I mean, a clouser. A clouser's a jig.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I hope to see most of you there, if not all of you. And of course, I didn't ask you about the Classic because that's on you. You've got to make it for that one. The Opens, I'm really hoping we get some good numbers at the Opens as well, especially that Summer Open.
Yeah, that's such a great thing. It's a great format. It's really fun, and get the word out there because it's so many people try it and they show up to a tournament or two. It grows our numbers for sure, right?
That's what it's all about. It's our tour events are a lot more expensive now than they used to be, but these Opens are not. They're I think they're going to be $25 this year is probably where they will end up being. I'm trying to find a sponsor for those two to help boost the payouts a little or do something special. But even if we don't, it's not that big a deal. These events are really more about fun and, like Dan said, trying it out. Just if you haven't tried kayak fishing and you're intimidated to go up against these hammers that we've got on the screen, this is a good way to get your feet wet.
Yeah, I like how there's an opportunity 2 times of the year for people to jump in and give it a shot. Because I've had people like, oh, I want to try, but when's the next open? I'm like, yeah, you gotta wait another 6-8 months for the next one. So it's cool that there's 2 times.
It's great. I've got some extra people in here. Sorry. It's technical difficulties on my part.
Anonymous special guests.
Yep, special guests. Mystery guests. Who are they?
There we go. There's the 6 of us.
The power hour is a fun one to try and sell to a newbie when you're out scoping the lake for the first time and you see someone in a tamarack angler and you're like, one fish could get you $1,000.
It's true.
Yep.
That was one of the things when we, I was on the group that kind of came up with the power hour and did it. It was really Chris Cantwell's baby. He was at ICAST and they were coming up with this idea. And initially it was just this idea of the Big Bass Power Hour, of just having a big bass every hour. And then somebody suggested, well, what if you also did it as a no limit? So we're like, that's crazy to do it all together. But the neat thing about the Power Hour is it has done what so many other tournament series are trying to do. They're trying to get new people interested in the sport and to come out and try it. And with the Power Hour, it's a lot less intimidating because anybody can nail one big fish during the day, and if it just happens to be in the right hour, you can win $1,000 with one fish and a kayak, for that matter. Corey won he had the biggest big bass at Umatilla, and so he won a Titan X as well as $1,000. And he placed high in the no limit too, or he was second. You were first, Chris. So he was or I don't know. In the
second.
no limit, you weren't. I don't remember who was first in the.
No, I don't know who to give the no.
It might have been.
6 for that.
You
thought it
guys
was
were both
Corey.
up there. Yeah, I think it might have been Corey. You guys were both up there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a great way to get people out, and either of those events, one of the opens or the native no limit, are a great way to get people out and try the sport. Of course, the native event's got a higher barrier of entry. The entry fee's a lot more. But one thing I'm looking for some insight from you guys on too, and we may even put it to a vote. I don't know. We'll do the same format for the Spring Open with the sort of pro-am style team event where we pair a less experienced angler with a more experienced angler. For the Summer Open, should we do the same thing? Should we do something different? I'm kind of open-minded about that. I don't necessarily want to do the same thing unless that's what everybody feels like makes sense. But I'm open to ideas.
Yeah. So in my experiences, I helped the person I fished with a lot, figuring the whole thing out. Didn't know how to do anything. So if we're gonna kind of do it as that's the goal, I think it's good to stick to the same because he came to watch them too and fish that one as a regular tournament and knew how to do it. So, but if it just depends on what you want to do. That first one for sure. So.
Yeah, the first one, absolutely. I'm not going to change the format of that one. But that August one is the question mark.
Yeah, I feel like
Games are
that.
really good. It was sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Did I just freeze up?
Everything froze.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Didn't for me.
It did for a second. I'm all in for just keeping the same format as the spring one. I think it's just a great opportunity to get other people in, and if a bunch of beginners jump in and all the sticks are paired up with each other, then that's not going to be a fun experience. So it's supposed to be a fun, laid back event. So
That's a great way of looking at it,
It is
Brandon. I like that.
yeah, if Chris and Corey team up in an event like poor everybody else.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. He's not a rookie anymore, so he's good. He's good.
Rookie, yeah. I'm pretty sure Corey speaks big bass. I don't even know if that's even possible, but
He's got a homing beacon somewhere.
he likes the
Fine
number
for the
22, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure.
No, I mean, from the first year at KFNW, like everything coming together, I think it was a great year. It's always cool because we always chat, in the Facebook group pages, and it's cool to see everybody a little bit more. And this group is definitely unlike any other group I've ever seen. Like, just the environment, the camaraderie, everything's awesome. So I'm excited to see. Obviously, it was a trial year this year, but I think there's gonna be some great things coming in 2026, and it's gonna be a fun one.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Good group of folks. It's really supportive of each other. It's a lot of fun. So
I definitely agree with that.
we all like to win, but no one gets super carried away. That's awesome. So.
That's great. Good way to end the year on that note. That's kind of why I wanted to get one in here before the end of the year. As far as this podcast, I'm not sure exactly what the schedule is going to be. Maybe twice a month. I don't think we have enough content really to do one every week, and that'd be a big. This one's a little extra long too. We're going on 2 hours here. Usually I'll try and keep it to an hour, but I knew this one was going to run a little long. But maybe twice a month we could do it, and that way it'll let us cover before and after each event, basically.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome.
Any other parting thoughts from any of you guys? Anything you want to
Yeah,
say?
I do have one. I want to talk a little bit about the sponsors that clearly help us pull this stuff off. Obviously, you, Marvin, with Kayak Fishing Northwest. None of us would be doing this if you didn't put the energy into it. I'm just saying that. I've been fishing a long time, and it to run an organization like this, that's very difficult. I've seen people come and go that just burn out in it. So I think all of us could say thank you very much for your input and what you're doing. So
For
let's
sure.
start out
Well, thanks.
with you.
That means a lot.
Absolutely.
And that's a great segue into sponsors, which was sort of where I was going to end things tonight. Big shout out to Northwest Tackle. I see Joe just commented on the thread here too. Let's make that live. There's Joe from Northwest Tackle, who is our media sponsor this year, and he's come on board as a native and bona fide dealer in the Boise area. He's going to be on the podcast, I think, January 6th, I think, is the date of the next podcast, and I'm going to have Joe on for that one. We'll try and get a sponsor on for most of them if we can. And Joe is putting together pre-orders for Native Watercraft and Bonafide kayaks. So if you're anywhere near the Boise area and you want to get an order in for one of those kayaks, contact Joe sooner than later, because I think he's putting the order in right after the 6th. Like a few days after that event, he's going to send that order in. So make sure you let him know, and that way you can get the color and everything that you want. He will have some in stock also, but you might not have exactly the color and model and everything that you want if you wait. So big shout out to Joe at Northwest Tackle. He's one of the reasons we can do this podcast. His support is helping us do all of this media-based stuff. We've got some cool plans for media this year, this being one of them. Of course, Diamond Parking and Diamond Self-Storage. Man, we couldn't have done it without them. They have really stepped up as a huge sponsor the last few years, especially with Next Adventure going by the wayside. We don't have them as a sponsor anymore, unfortunately, with them retiring and then still in business, but I don't know. We'll see what the future holds for Next Adventure and us. I don't know if they're going to still do water sports or not, but currently they're not. Native Watercraft, like I mentioned already, they're a tour sponsor for us this year. And I'm working on a title sponsor. We're this close. I hope to have something on that real soon, that somebody I can have on the podcast to talk about their support of KFNW. We'll see. Last thing on sponsorship. If there's anybody if there are any companies that you know of that might be interested in sponsoring us, of course, fishing related companies, great. Our larger sponsors, we try not to have them overlap with each other. So Native Watercraft is a big sponsor of ours this year. That's going to be the only kayak brand that we have. But smaller sponsors, that's not really as big a deal. If we've got people that are sort of in a similar space. But if there's anybody for in-kind sponsorship is fine. If it's just somebody that's going to donate gear that we give away at the events, that's great. But if it's somebody that you think could help support us financially too, that would be fantastic. We do need some more help on some of the things that we're trying to make happen this year. And that's how we've gotten some of these sponsors. That's how we got Diamond. They got referred to us. And so he came to some events and he's like, okay, yeah, well, I can step up and help you guys. So yeah, if you know anybody or if you work for a company that might be willing to, that's great. We're also working on getting local sponsors around our tour events. So if there's anybody we can find, we're going to be reaching out to chambers of commerce and stuff like that. But if there's any businesses that that are around those areas, they could sponsor that event. And those don't have to be big giant sponsorships. They can be smaller dollar amounts if they're going to do cash. So we're happy to work with people at whatever level, big, small, or anywhere in between. So yeah, thanks Andrew for bringing that up. And yeah, we love our sponsors. They are honestly, they're one of the most important parts of this, because we couldn't do it if we didn't get their support. I've been
also wanna
talking to a lot of our
mention-
other in-kind sponsors, and most of them are ready to come back. So we're looking forward to that. Kenny's going to spread the word. Thanks, Kenny. I think that's about it. With that, I wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and Happy New Year, which hopefully all of us can celebrate. And I look forward to seeing you guys on a screen and again in person sometime next year.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Marvin.
having us on, Marvin.
It was a
Thanks, Marvin.
Thank you. See you guys
Happy
soon.
holidays, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
I got to figure out how to turn this off.